6 days a week, 14-hour days, being on like £3.90 an hour. It was crazy graft. They have a business idea, but their heart's not fully in it. I went there and my heart was fully in it. And I knew that I was going to make that business work one way or another. The first day I opened, I messed up my opening, like terribly.
This might be a silly question because I think I know the answer, but what's your highest selling product?
The Philadelphia cheesesteak.
Do you mind me asking what the shop turned over in the first year?
The first year we turned over...
Yo, Curtis.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Convos with Curtis. Today I'm here with who some might call a food connoisseur. Everyone knows him for his Philly cheesesteaks, which I'm still yet to try, but trust me, we're coming. It's just at the other side of the city for me, so I'm trying to get there, and we're going to get there, especially now we've met in person. You go by... Your original name is Blake, but everybody knows you as the Scranman.
Yeah. Everybody knows me as the Scranman, but a lot of my friends, they just call me Scran. They don't even call me Blake. So it's a name that I can't really get away from anymore.
So everyone just calls you Scran?
Yeah, well, that's friends, close friends, Blake. Yeah, some people call me Blake, or I don't know why. But yeah, Scranman, that's what, I go by.
I think... obviously, you've built a very successful food business.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I think behind everyone that's became successful, there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
So I want to roll it all the way back to when you was young and when you was growing up and what life was like for you.
Yeah.
And I really want to find out what your driving force was to become the Scranman that you are now.
Yeah. So first of all, I'd just like to say it's an honour to be on this podcast and sitting talking with you, Curtis. I've watched your journey for many years now, and I respect what you've done. I respect the work you've put in and what you've done for the city and people that are trying to build and grow from this city. So, like I said, it's an honour to be on this podcast.
Thank you very much, I appreciate
have this conversation. So, yeah.
So where did you grow up? Talk to me.
Yeah, so I grew up around Sutton Coldfield, Streatley, King's Standing, Great Bar, them areas. So yeah, I went to a good school and I lived in a good neighborhood when I was younger. And growing up was I'd say it was hard, but it was also very it's a hard way to put it. It's hard to put it.
It's challenging.
Yeah, it was challenging because I was growing up in an environment where a lot of people had everything and their parents, and they had all these opportunities, they had everything given to them on a plate. And whereas I was very fortunate, and me and my brother was very fortunate to where we lived and how we was growing up, our family was still very humble and just like a normal family. So it was hard growing up because everybody around me had whatever they wanted. And for me, it was more of, from young, it was installed in me that you've got to work for what you want, and you've got to put in the work and show that you're capable of things and show that you're worthy of achieving things. So that was installed from me from young. My dad, my mum, they always had me, like most people really, they always had me working, doing the gardening, washing the cars to get money if I wanted to go out, go to the cinema at weekends. So I always had that idea of, I've got to work for what I want. And if I want something, then it's something that's got to be earned. So that was something that was installed with me, and it's obviously grew into my later life and how I am now. But going through school, it was a hard time for me. I really struggled with like concentrating. I struggled with even getting along with people. I struggled communicating. All these things affected me while I was in school. So learning was a difficult thing for me, and I struggled all the way through school, and that come out as me acting up, getting in trouble, doing the wrong things, trying to not be the class clown, but not putting my focus into the work. And like a lot of people in school, they don't really, you know, enjoy it, and they don't find a passion through it, which was very much what I was like. And it was hard going through school. I always had teachers not talking down to me, but not showing me the kind of love that they would show everybody else. And I felt kind of like put out and separated a lot of the time. And that kind of sent me down a bad path of doing even more wrong things and just not being a nice person in school, getting into fights, this and that. So yeah, that's what it really was in school.
Was you popular in school?
Nah, I wouldn't say I was popular, because the popular kids was the guys that had, you know, all the fresh clothes, the fresh trainers. Like, we was very, like I said, we was a normal family. So I'd have hand-me-downs from my brother or from friends. Like, we wasn't dressed to show. And them kind of people was the popular people. And so in school I was like always trying to look for what I could do and how I could make money on the side, do this and that. And that's how I got into some of the wrong paths and wrong things that sent me down the wrong way, but also taught me a lot and helped me grow into the man I am today.
What did you do after school?
Yeah, so leaving school was a weird time. I left school with no GCSEs, so I left failing everything. And by the time I was even doing my GCSEs, the school had me being escorted around, so I wasn't allowed to interact with any other students. I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. I was literally put in a box for all the day, and I'd only come out to do my exams.
Why was that?
Looking back, I don't actually. Well, I do know. I'd be lying if I said I didn't know. But it was because I was just acting up. I was acting up, and I didn't know what was going on. I was confused with what was going at home. My mum and dad had split up, and they was going through a bad separation, which is confusing for any child. And it was around my birthday that happened. And for a while, when I was younger, I kind of blamed myself for what was happening between my mum and my dad. And because they would have arguments and they would tell me stuff, and then I was young, I didn't really know what to say and what not to say. And I was thinking some things may have slipped out of my mouth back to my mum or back to my dad that ended up making them separate, which was hard for me to process. It was real hard for me to process. And then I was just doing anything and everything, really. I was messing around out of school, getting involved with drugs, getting involved with the police, doing stupid things that I shouldn't have been doing. And that was around the time I was doing my GCSEs. And at that time I just thought, this isn't for me. I'm not putting my effort into it. The school don't have any respect for me. It feels like they don't care about me. I can't talk to anybody at home because everything's messed up. So yeah, and I left school with no GCSEs. And after school, it just got worse. I just got worse. Carried on going down the wrong path. I got kicked out of my mum's. Moved in with my dad. I got kicked out of my dad's. Ended up sleeping on sofas, going around, just doing nothing really for a year. And in the end, I was thinking, I need to get my life back on track now. Like, I can't just do this. And I got back in touch with my mum, And I was like, Mum, I want to sort myself out. I want to go to college. I want to do something. And she helped me out. And we sat down and we went for a meal. We started thinking, like, what do you enjoy, Blake? Like, what is your passion? What could you see yourself doing as a career? And it brought back memories of being a kid and going to like my neighbour's house when I was getting looked after, or somebody was childminding me, and we'd always be cooking, we'd always be doing something with food, like we'd be baking a cake or we'd be making a meal to pass the time, something we could do together. And that just came back to me, and so I just thought, food, I'll try that. So that's what I done. I went down the route of food, and that's how it all started, really. I started just experimenting at home, started cooking at home, moved back in with my mum. I was cooking at home, experimenting with different dishes, and yeah, just started getting going that way, really.
So where did you start to learn about, obviously your food now looks incredible, but there's a journey between frying sausage and bacon and learning how to cook like you can cook now.
Yeah.
Where did you learn how to do that? Was it literally just experimenting at home?
I learnt it in my granddad's kitchen, I'll be honest with you. I literally learnt it through trial and error. After leaving college, I went on to an apprenticeship. So I done an apprenticeship for about a year. And this was in like a fine dining restaurant. So it was in like a proper good place. And that was where I learned a lot about how to operate in a kitchen, how to run a section, how you manage food, how you work around food, health and safety, cleanliness, all of that stuff I learned while I was doing my apprenticeship. And I was working like 6 days a week, 14-hour days, and I was 16, 17 on like £3.90 an hour. It was crazy graft, crazy, but I was learning something, and I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do in the long term, but this was when I was starting to think about my plans. What am I going to do after this? Like, what's the transition from me going from a job to opening a business, which was always in the back of my mind, and it's always something that I knew was going to be my destiny.
So your driving force when you was on £3.90 an hour was the end goal of, in your head, you knew you wanted to open your own.
Yeah. It was what I was learning.
Something like that.
Yeah. It was what I was learning. I knew what I was learning there was going to help me with the experience and help me when I open my own kitchen. I'm going to know how to run, operate, and everything like that. So that was what was getting me through. And in the end, it got to like COVID and lockdown hit, and that was then when I really started getting into my own cooking and experimenting with my own recipes and starting to learn and teach myself about American street food and all of that kind of thing.
COVID was a gift and a curse, because for a lot of people it destroyed them. But for a lot of people, it also gave them the time to learn new skills and develop. I know for me, literally, in COVID was when I learned to be a music engineer. Yeah, so I could already make beats, I could already DJ, but I couldn't open a studio because I didn't know how to become an engineer. So COVID for me was that time where you have nothing else to do and you can just put all of your focus into studying something new, which sounds similar to what you've done there. So you're stuck in the house in COVID and you're just learning more and more about cooking food.
Yeah, that's it, man. But I know you've been DJing for like a decade now. I was watching.
Longer.
Really?
Yeah, longer.
How long's it been then?
I'm 30 now, and I started DJing when I was 13. But I don't DJ anymore. I'm retired.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I had an amazing run. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't do that anymore. I literally, when COVID hit, that was the line for me, and then I wanted to go into the studio life, which is what I did.
What you do now.
Yeah. So in COVID now, you're stuck in your house. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Just cooking all the time? Obviously not all the time, but like every day you're trying to learn something new about it.
Yeah. So a lot of it was really research. Obviously, I'd never been to America. I've never really tried the food. Only the food that was in in and around Birmingham. So I had to do a lot of research because there's these places everywhere that do burgers, wings, fried chicken, all of that stuff. You get all of that stuff everywhere. But I knew I had to be different. I knew I had to come up with something that's going to stand out, that's going to be able to give me the able to push something out and be unique and do my own thing and be special in my own right.
Like have a niche.
Yeah, have a niche, exactly. So I was doing a lot of research. I was doing a lot of research and a lot of experimenting, and that's where I got the idea of Philly cheesesteaks. I thought, and from young, I've always been into cooking and watching cooking shows. Man vs. Food is where I got a lot of my inspiration, and that's where actually one of the ideas was what I wanted to do was from Man vs. Food. So yeah. So yeah, in COVID, what was I saying? In COVID, I was just experimenting. My granddad had passed away, unfortunately, which was a hard time for all of us. But the house was just sitting there, my granddad's house. It was just sitting there, and I was just sitting there, and nobody really had anything to do in COVID. And I pitched the idea to my mum. I've got this idea. I want to start off a small takeaway service, start running it over Instagram, sell to my friends, and start making a bit of money and use my time wisely while we're just sitting here doing nothing in COVID. And she let me do it, thankfully. Thankfully to my mum. She's a sweet soul, man. She's helped me a lot over my journey. She's always been there for me, always been supportive. Like I said, when I left school and I was going down the wrong path, she was always there for me then. Even though she had kicked me out, she was always supportive and she always knew that I had potential, unlike people in school and my teachers in school. So, yeah, thankfully to my mum, she helped me get my business started. And I just started cooking from my granddad's kitchen. I was experimenting with flavours. I was making my own bread. I was frying my own chicken. I was doing everything. And then I would just be recording it, taking photos, posting it on social media. And that's how I started the Scranman. Yeah.
Where does the name the Scranman come from? This has always intrigued me, and I said to you off camera, I didn't want to ask you too many questions off camera, because I want to ask all of these questions on camera. The Scranman is a very unique name.
Yeah.
What made you come up with that?
So the Scranman came from literally sitting in my friend's living room, and I was just telling them what my dream was and what I wanted to do, and I couldn't personally think of a name. I was brainstorming names for weeks and months and I couldn't come up with a name. So I thought, let me just ask my friends, see if they've got any ideas for me, any suggestions. And yeah, we came up with the name the Scranman because we was just trying to find something that rang, something that was going to relate to my target audience, which was young people that know slang. And yes, the Scranman came up.
I think it's a very small number of people that call food scran. Yeah,
that know the word.
Like, we would know the word, but the masses probably, like, if I said to my mum or someone, I want a scran, she'd be like, you what?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it is very niche in terms of, like you said, target audience being probably young and street, because it is street food, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, that's it.
The Scranman.
But yeah, I mean, I've been out many places cooking my food. I've been on the road, obviously, with my trailer, doing a lot of work, and I do get asked the question a lot, what does Scran mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it interests people, and they think, raw, like, what does that mean? That's kind of interesting. It's like a conversation start, and it interests people into my brand and what we do. I think it's good in that sense.
I think it's great because it doesn't sound like anything else. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got, like, I don't know, I don't want to say any names because I've got friends with all kinds of food businesses, but like, people will call their shot, wing something,
Yeah.
burger something, like you could have called it the Philly cheesesteaks, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you've chose a brand that is relatable to our generation, which I think
Yeah.
is a really good thing that you've done in terms of your success in the business.
Yeah.
Like if we go back to you cooking food in the kitchen and just selling from the kitchen, which is where you started, online, the Scranman would be intriguing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You'd see, if you've never heard of the Scranman before, and this new things came up on your Instagram or whatever you was promoting on, and it said the Scranman, you'd be interested to see what that was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think that probably helped you in the journey.
Yeah.
But let's talk about selling food from the kitchen and how that whole process started.
Yeah. So going from obviously working in a kitchen environment, I had to figure out how I was going to make sales. I had to figure out how I'm going to make my food presentable, and most importantly, it's got to taste amazing. So I had to think of like a game plan and a structure to how I was going to build and how I was going to actually bring people in and get customers. So this is where I spent a lot of time on YouTube, and I was researching in how to create brand awareness and how to interest people into your food and into just the business in general. So I went down the route of starting competitions. I'd start competitions where I would present my food and present what I was doing, and then tell people to share it, comment this, that, and then we'd give out the food for free. And this was a real good thing to get me started, because it would get people interested into what we was doing and what the food was, and it would also give people a chance to try the food without them having to pay for it. And then once they try the food and they know that the food's good and they've tried it for free, then word of mouth's going to get out. So I had to make sure that my food was top quality and was flavorful, because people, at the end of the day, people are going to be taking a risk of ordering food from somebody that's cooking at home. So you have to show them that you really know what you're doing and you're really about your thing and you're really putting in the work. So yeah, that's how I got started. Just started over Instagram. I was posting food, selling food, taking orders over direct message. I even set up I didn't set up a website, but a friend that was also doing the same thing as me kind of started this little business where he created a website where us foodies that were selling food from home could use it and make sales over like a website. So that in itself made us look more professional, and it gave us a platform where people could go on, they could look at our menu, they could place an order, or they could phone up. So it was about that professionalism as well that kind of got me going. Yeah.
How long did it take for you to start seeing profit then? Because obviously you're in the kitchen, you're doing giveaways, you're doing competitions, you're trying to get your food out there.
Yeah.
You're not really thinking about the money at that point.
No.
But people don't understand that it costs a lot of money to do in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Your stock costs money, your containers take money, delivery costs money.
Yeah.
Everything costs money. So how long did it take you in the kitchen to start seeing a little bit of profit?
At the start, it was cooking from home and doing it all yourself. There wasn't much overhead, so the food itself was what would cost the money, and then you just put your profit on top. So you have to obviously be good with numbers and work out how much you want to make off this and that. So when I was cooking from home, cooking from my granddad's kitchen, it was actually easier to make money. Obviously, it was making a lot less than what I'm doing now, but yeah, it was a bigger profit margin because you do everything yourself, and your only real overheads is the food and the containers itself. So back then it was kind of like a 50-50. Like I'd spend what I'd spend on food, I'd then make 50% back.
So you're around about double then?
Yeah.
So going from there, at what point did you start to gain traction on social media? Was it straight away? Because now your social media brand's pretty big now. Everyone knows or has at least heard of the Scranman.
Yeah.
So when you're in the kitchen and you're selling from the kitchen, how long did it take for you to build a social media presence?
Boy, it probably took the whole of COVID. It took a good few years, and it's just consistency. It's your food looking good to start with, and then it's you selling the food and people trying it and the food actually getting positive feedback and people enjoying it. That helps you get out there, and it helps you get word of mouth. Giving people incentives to post on their stories. We used to make like stickers, and we put it in the box. So if people took a photo of the food, our brand would also be there as well. So it's just little things like that helped me get out there to start with. And like I said about the competitions, I'd run competitions like every month, 2 months, and them competitions is where I built my following, and that's how I got followers. That's how I got sales to start with, through them competitions. So I just rinse them, repeat them. I'd always do it differently. The prize would always be different, and it would be a different incentive. But that was really how I built up some traction on social media, just rinsing competitions through.
I think during COVID, right, we went through this period of obviously having nothing to do. So everyone was posting pictures of food.
Yeah.
Like, if I think back now, I've never thought about it like this, but if you think like now, people don't take pictures of food as much. I don't know whether that's social media saying it's cringy or whatever, but like during COVID, everyone was posting food on their stories. So you've hit that perfectly.
Everyone in COVID, there was a lot of people cooking from home and doing their thing. And I took inspiration from quite a few of them, and got in contact with a lot of them. And that's where also like brand collaborations really help as well, getting your brand out there, and connecting with the right people, connecting with people in your industry, and just getting advice, seeing what other people are doing, and see how they do things, and sharing knowledge. That really helped me when I was coming up as well. I always looked up to Joints TV. I always looked up to Kane because that's how he started. He started similar to how I started, but he actually made something out of it, and he made it into like a big social media presence, and it was kind of something to look up to and work towards. So people like that gave me confidence in myself that I can do that, and what I'm trying to do is possible. Because obviously when you're young, you might have a dream in your head, but people around you, they don't believe things are possible, and they don't believe like it's that easy to start a business, or you can do that, you can do this. And it's like the limited mindset and crabs in a bucket. That
people
kind
don't
of thing.
Support something until it's cool to support it. Do you know what I mean? When it's cool to support something, like everyone's on the bandwagon, then everyone wants to jump up and post it. Do you know what I mean? But on the come up, when you're trying to explain your dreams and your ideas, no one really, like, people just brush it off and think, oh, he probably ain't going to be able to do that. But it's only later on that people really do support it. So let's talk about going from the kitchen to the shop. Because that's a whole different ball game.
Big step, man.
Like I was saying before, people don't understand. Like, I've vaguely looked into food businesses before, because I'm just someone that wants to know how every nook and cranny works in every business. So I've looked into food businesses before, and I've realised how much work and logistics go into food.
Yeah.
So if you go from now you're just cooking in the kitchen to opening a shop, it's a whole new ball game. So talk to me about that. At what point did you decide that you was going to get a shop, and talk me through the process?
Yeah, so going from obviously cooking from home to a shop was a massive step, and it was a step that I was trying to work out in my own head. And this is where a lot of self-belief and self-work come into the picture. So all through COVID, I was just focused on myself and building my own mindset, and you know, learning about motivation and watching motivational speeches, and really diving deep into like self-help and all of that kind of stuff. So it really started with having the right mindset to actually believe in myself and believe in what I'm trying to do and believe in my brand and believe in my food to be able to actually get there in the first place. So number one, you've got to have the belief in yourself. Number two, you've got to have a game plan. You have to literally sit down and strategize how you're going to go about doing things, what's going to go where, how you're going to get the money, how you're going to keep things flowing. So it was going into like business plans where I first started. I had to figure out how I was going to get to a shop, and I needed money to get to a shop. So this is where I discovered the Prince's Trust. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them.
I have.
But going back to my mum has always wanted to help me and always tried to guide me in the right direction. So she couldn't help me figure out how I want to start a business, how to start a business, because nobody in my family had ever started a business. And she knew about the Prince's Trust, and she thought it would be best for me to go down the route of seeking proper help and getting mentorship on how to actually operate in a business. So I went to the Prince's Trust and I done their enterprise program, and that program is basically how to start a business. So they guided me from taking my business out of my house to building a business plan, to building how I'm going to fund it financially, how I'm going to do everything, how I'm going to manage staff, how I'm going to employ people, all of that stuff. The Prince's Trust helped me with, and they got me a mentor, a business mentor that helped work with me on my business plan, and that's how I really got started. So going from cooking from home to the shop was a 2-year period. I had to obviously find the shop that I wanted to move into first, and that in itself was a damn near impossible experience. Like, I just spent hours and hours searching for the right place, and it seemed like there was nowhere, and the only places that were available that were shops that were closing down, that were selling their lease. So you would have to buy the business and rent the shop, and I was only starting with a small fund, some money that I'd saved up, and a loan that the Prince's Trust helped me get through their program, which was from Startup Loans. Startup Loans is a company that literally in the name they fund startups. So it's a personal loan, but the loan is for your business idea. And yeah, that's where I got my money to open the shop, and from money that I'd saved up from doing my side hustle at home. A lot of people go onto that program, the enterprise program, half-heartedly, and they have a business idea, but their heart's not fully in it. I went there and my heart was fully in it, and I knew that I was going to make that business work one way or another. And that's what happened. I was on the program with, I'd probably say 10-15 other people. And I think I'm the only one that come out of the program and actually made a success out of their idea that they brought to Prince's Trust. So the Prince's Trust have all the information you need and guidance, but it's up to the individual, and it's up to the yourself to make it happen, and put in the work, put in the time, effort and dedication to make your dreams happen.
So what year did you open the shop then? Let's talk about the shop now.
What year did I open the shop? It was 2022. I opened the shop.
So you've had it for 2 years now?
Just over 2 years. April 2022, 18th of April. The Saturday, that was when the doors opened.
That's gone slow.
It has.
Most things go fast in life, but I feel like your shop's been there for so long.
It's been, yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
It's dragged.
That just shows the weight of your brand, though, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a 2-year-old business. Do you know what I mean? It feels like it's been there for a lot longer than that.
Well, I put in the groundwork, obviously, before I opened the shop. I started the business. I registered the business as soon as I turned 18. Like my 18th birthday, the business was registered because I didn't want to waste no time. So the Scranman, it's been around for 5 years now. And them 3 years before I opened the shop, I spent a lot of time and effort into building my social media presence. And the only reason why I believed that opening the shop was the right thing was the brand that I'd already built before that. And that's what gave me the real confidence and the real motivation to be like, right then, it's now time to do this.
What's your following like when you opened the shop on social media? Did you have a big presence, or was it small at the time?
8,000 followers I had before I opened the shop.
A pretty nice place to start then.
Yeah, it was decent, man.
Yeah, 8,000, that's quite a lot of people. Yeah, especially if 8,000 people are actively buying your food.
Exactly.
That's a lot of sales.
Yeah.
So when you get your shop now, what's some of the problems that you had to tackle when you first opened?
So opening the shop, obviously I had a small budget. I had a very small budget. So I had to fit out the whole kitchen. I had to design the kitchen. I had to I had to do all the shopping. I had to buy all the equipment. I had to think where everything was going to go. I had to lay out the whole shop.
Are you working on your own at this point?
Yeah. On my own. So that in itself was a crazy challenge because I'm a 20-year-old. I've never opened a shop before, and I've worked in one kitchen. So I had to take all of my knowledge and everything that I'd learned from that one kitchen and apply it to this shop. And that's why I milked that apprenticeship, and I put in the hard graft and worked hard there and applied myself, because I knew what I was doing there was going to feed my dream later. Like I told you, I was putting in the work and I was working like a slave for like £3 an hour, but it was for a purpose. It wasn't to work there. It was for what I was learning there and what it would help me do in the future.
The first year of the shop opening, was you in negative or positive?
First year of the shop opening, I was in negative because of all the money that I had to put in to start with. So rightfully so, the money that I had to put in had to get paid back. So the first year, it was when I first opened the shop, I was still learning. Like the first day I opened, I messed up my opening, like terribly. Like I messed it up completely. Like it was the biggest learning curve ever, and it's been a roller coaster. Like the things I've had to go through and the struggles that I've been through. Like my brand, it might look like I've been successful and I've been smashing it for a long time, but there's been points where if I wasn't a strong individual and strong in my own mind, then the Scranman could have been closed a long time ago. if I didn't have that true desire and burning passion inside of me to keep things going and believing in the long-term future, I could have closed long time ago. I could have been failed.
I think that's I think most successful businesses have that story.
Yeah.
It's never smooth sailing.
Nah.
People only see the flowers.
Yeah.
They don't see the hard work, the hours, the frustration, the losses. People don't see all of this. They just think, oh, the Scranman must be killing it. But they're not the reason I wanted to get into the Prince's Trust and the loans and stuff is just so for the people watching, they understand how much work and how much sacrifice and how much risk that actually takes, because your loan's not free.
Yeah.
If you
and it was a personal loan. Like,
if you fuck up, you still owe that money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, at what point did you start employing staff? Because now I know you've got, how many staff members you got now?
Staff members now, we've got nine members, not including me. So
there's 10 of you.
10 of us.
There's 10 Scranmans.
Yeah.
I'm joking. There's only one Scranman.
Only one Scranman. Yeah.
So how did you start to employ staff, and at what point did you feel that you needed to employ staff?
So when I first opened my shop, I needed staff straight away. The way I went about it was I employed people that was older than me and had some experience into what they was doing. I employed one chef, and I also took on my close friend that had been working with me in past jobs and was my friend for a long time before that anyway, and he was there helping me on like events, all that stuff before I opened my shop. So he was there from day dot. So, and he's still with me now. So yeah, when I first opened the shop, I employed 3 people. I was obviously working full time myself in the kitchen. Then I had 1 front of house and 2 other chefs. So there's 3 chefs, 1 front of house to run the shop. And when I first opened my shop, I let it get to my head, and being young and naive, the first, I'd probably say 5 months, I messed up. I messed up my shop, and I messed up opportunities, but it's nothing I couldn't have come back from. And like I said, the day of my opening, I had a massive queue of people outside my shop waiting to come in. The money that we took on that day was absolutely crazy, but my organisation was terrible. And I think back now, if I slowed down and put some more thought and time into the opening of the shop, then my brand would be a lot further ahead than what it is now.
But that's part of the learning process.
Part of the learning process.
You've got to mess up to move forward. You can't no, it's not smooth sailing like we was just saying.
Yeah.
Without the mess, without the fuck ups, you're not going to learn anything. Do you know what I mean? We don't learn from wins. We learn from losses. Yeah. We learn from mistake to know not to make that mistake again. Mm-hmm. So don't beat yourself up too much about that, because it's all projected to where you are now, and obviously now you are successful. Do you mind me asking what the shop turned over in the first year?
The first year we turned over just over 250k.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Not many businesses can say that.
Nah, it was a massive achievement, a massive achievement. But the restaurant game is tight and it's hard, and you've got to really be on job and watching every little thing to make your business work. So yeah, we took a lot of money, but not a lot of that was profit. But that in itself was a massive achievement, and something that I took and I celebrated, and we've grown from there. So,
well, you're proving the concept. If you turn over 250k in your first year, obviously, like we're saying, that's not all profit. There's all kinds of overheads and costs that go into that. So don't be watching this thinking that's what you made.
No, definitely not.
but you've proven the concept in the first year there. You've opened your shop, you've seen 250k in sales, and you know from there it's time to put your foot down.
Yeah, that's it, man.
So where did you go then? So at this moment in time, there's you and there's 3 other members of staff.
Yeah.
So how do you get to the 9? And I want to talk about the truck as well.
Okay. So the 3 members of staff that I started with, I employed people that was older than me, and I was still learning on the job. I was still learning. I'd never been a leader before, so all of this was new to me. And the person I am now to the person I was then is completely different. I'm a lot more. I'm a lot more thoughtful, I'm a lot more caring, I'm a lot more understanding, and I'm a lot more strategic. And back then, there was no systems, there was no processes. It was a startup business. I was 20 years old, and like I said, I was still learning. So the first year, we were just trying to get through it. And the staff that I first started with, apart from my close friend, they've all gone now, which was probably for the best, but it was a learning curve. And from there, I went back to the drawing board. I evaluated what I'd done wrong and what I'd done right. And the next lot of staff that I employ, what's going to be different. And this is where being a business owner, you have to really spend time and invest into your business. It's not all fun and games, and it's not all smoke and mirrors. There's a serious amount of hard work and thought and just time and paperwork that you have to put together to make things work. So going from them 3 members of staff to 9 members of staff, obviously there's been a lot of growth in that time. I've also took on a lot of staff that was in and around the area, so young people. One thing that I wanted to do when I first opened my shop was kind of let me go back. So when I was working in the restaurants, obviously I was a young member of staff and I was very keen to learn and grow. But the people that was obviously managing me and above me was very disrespectful. So in kitchens, it's completely different to any other workplace. It's a lot more not laid back, but laid back. Chefs, they think they can talk to you however they like, and they can treat you however they like, and it's a different workplace. So when I was opening my business, I had this whole idea of I'm gonna be employing people and I'm gonna do things differently. I've got to do things differently, because when I was learning to be a chef, the way I felt I was being treated was disgusting and I hated it. So what are you going to do different to give back to your employees and be a better boss? So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to employ younger people. I wanted to give younger people a chance, and I wanted to give them some guidance and hopefully show them what's really possible. Me being a young business owner myself, 21 years old, I wanted to employ younger people so they could really see what's possible if you put in hard work and dedication to your dreams. So yeah, I've got, say, 4-5 younger lads that work for me, and they're from the area that the shop is based, and for most of them it was their first ever job. So I wanted to give back to them, and I wanted to be able to train somebody, and I wanted to put the time in and build around my brand and have a brand ethos where we help the community and we give back and we do positive things instead of just being a business that's all about themselves, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, yeah. If you got 9 people in one shop,
No, so we have the trailer,
yeah.
and we have the shop.
When did you get the trailer?
The trailer come 18 months ago, just over a year ago.
And I'm taking it that's so you can go and do like the festivals and the events and things like that.
So that's just another aspect of the business now. So whatever, that's a whole new aspect that is just another source of income. So it was all in the plans as well when I was first thinking about my business and what I wanted to do. This was all the plan, and this was and it's how it's played out. So 9 people don't work in the shop at once. Obviously, we have front of house, we have different parts to the business. We need prep chefs, we need cleaners, we need front of house staff, we need actual chefs. So there's a lot of different aspects to the shop that we need staff in. So 9 people don't work all at once, but 9 people work in the business to keep the Scranman going.
So what advice would you give to people that are maybe thinking about starting up a food business now?
So the advice that I'd give first and foremost is you've got to have passion. You've got to have passion in what you're doing, and you've got to have passion in the food that you're going to be serving and selling. If you don't have that, then unless you've got a serious amount of money to just throw at the business, then it might not work, because that passion and the drive that you have around your food is what the customers are going to see and grow to love. So that is one of the main points of advice I'd give, is have the passion forefront in everything you do, and make it show in the food. Make sure you have love, and that should show, and customers will see it, they will taste it, and they will buy into your brand, and things will start to work for you.
This might be a silly question because I think I know the answer, but what's your highest selling product?
The Philadelphia cheesesteak. The Philly cheesesteak's #1, and rightfully so, because that was the driving force of my business. That was my unique selling point. That was the one thing that I wanted to push, because nobody else does a Philly cheesesteak. And if they do it, they don't do it properly. And that is what I base my brand around. We are the people that do the Philly cheesesteaks properly. If you want a Philly cheesesteak, you come to the Scranman, and that's how it is.
You're making me hungry, man. I'm coming next week, I'm just going to take the drive. I'm going to do it because all I've heard is amazing things about the Scranman. And I'm not just saying this for the camera, it's the truth. All I've heard is great things. I've heard how good your food is. I've heard how good your service is. And I think it's about time that I come over and try it.
Yeah,
so, I'm going to definitely be getting one of everything and just trying everything.
So that's what a lot of people do, man.
Yeah, you should start doing like little platters. Where you can do like
it's coming. I mean,
a small Philly cheesesteak, and
yeah. I mean, we've done like Eid specials. Obviously, our shop is halal, so all our food's halal, and that's something that I'm very strict on, because there's a big Muslim community in Birmingham, and a lot of my friends are Muslim as well. So when I was first setting up the business, I was using halal meat all the way back then, and even now we just proper strict on it. No non-halal produce come in the building, and that's how it's got to be, because there's a big market out there for it, and it would be wrong not to
cater
service
to everybody.
them. Yeah, exactly.
Of course. You've got to cater to everybody where you can.
Yeah.
So where does the Scranman go from here? What's your plans? What do you see yourself doing in the next, let's say, 2 years?
The next 2 years. So the Scranman is going to continue to blow up on social media. That's for certain. I feel like social media is key to any business these days. Everybody knows that, but for a food business especially, social media is where you're gonna get your customers. It's where you're gonna get potential new business from. It's where you're gonna build everything from. It's where you're gonna create a personal brand. It's where you're gonna everything's gonna come together. It's where customers are gonna talk about your food. So social media is always going to be at the forefront of my brand, pushing us forward. So yeah, social media is always going to be continue to grow. Obviously, I have plans to open more shops. I'm not working on anything just yet. I'm still very much focused on making number one perfect, as in our first shop, and perfecting everything. I don't want to jump the gun and go and open another shop before I'm 100% happy with everything that's happening at our number one location. So more shops are definitely coming in the coming years, but there's nothing in the plans at the moment, unfortunately. But yeah, you're always going to see us out and about on our trailer. We love doing events. There's a big market for that. I want to be in festivals. I want to get to Glastonbury. I've always wanted to experience that and be there. So yeah, there's a lot of plans to come and a lot of things to come. But the Scranman's going to be around for many, many years to come. And I've come this far, and I'm going to go a lot further, because one thing about me, I'll never give up on my dream, no matter how rocky the road is, no matter how tough it gets. If you believe in something and you have a passion burning inside of you that I've had for 5 years now, then it's something you never give up on. So yeah, there's definitely, the Scranman is going to be a big brand, and I have massive visions for the future, definitely.
Give us one of them visions. What could you imagine 10 years from now then? So where's the Scranman 10 years from now?
10 years from now. So we'll be a restaurant chain instead of a takeaway chain. That's one thing that I can share. That's one of my biggest dreams. I feel like the food that I create and the food that the Scranman is all about is top quality street food. And I feel like that is deserving of a diner, a street diner, something cool, urban, like a new kind of concept that isn't really out there. So yeah, we are a takeaway right now, but the big plan is to be a restaurant chain and yeah, push it out that way.
Wicked. Anything you want to finish up on?
Really, when I was younger, like I've explained, I always had this burning passion and desire inside of me to run a business and be my own boss. And it's been a journey over 5 years now of growing into that person, working on myself, working on my future, working on my plans. And I just wanna put out there that no dream is impossible. And no matter how young you are and what dream you might have, anything is achievable with hard work and dedication, and just give yourself time. Give yourself time to think about your plans and think about your execution and how you're going to strategize things. And yeah, just give yourself time and always believe in yourself and never give up, ever. One thing about me is I'll always believe in myself, always believe in my future. And as long as you believe in yourself, then anything's possible.
I agree. Thank you for your time, bro. I really enjoyed that conversation. It was good to get an insight of your whole journey, because obviously we've followed each other for a long time now. We've watched each other's journeys, but I've never actually understood how the whole thing started. So I enjoyed that conversation. Thank you for your time today.
No worries,
just before we finish up, drop your location.
Yeah, so my shop location is 5 Bowstoke Road, Great Bar, B43 5EB. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. @the_Scranman. So yeah, thank you for your time, Curtis, man. It's been a pleasure.
Man. Go and get your Philly cheesesteaks now, because I know I'm going to. And if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.